Hi there, it's June the 23rd and we're continuing our journey through the book of 2nd Kings, and we're completing the balance of chapter 4 and then going into the whole of chapter 5. In chapter 4 we read of 3 further miracles of Elisha. He's granted the woman of Shunem the gift of a son, and unfortunately, much to the widow's sorrow, the son dies. He has been out in the fields with his father, comes back and lays his head on her lap, and he dies around midday. So the woman goes to the man of God. She believes that something can be done, and so she says to him when she meets him that she is at peace, shalom. She doesn't say that anything's wrong. But then Elisha comes and he goes to the boy, and there's another resurrection along the lines of the resurrection of the boy that Elijah did. Now Elisha raises the widow of Shunem's son from the dead. Then there are 2 further miracles in this chapter. There's the miracle of the food that is made safe by the addition of some meal which Elisha puts in when there's a plague in the land and when there's food poisoning about, and Elisha makes the food clean. And then right at the end of chapter 4 there's a very unusual and unique miracle in the Old Testament anyway, of the multiplication of bread, when there's a number of people who need to be fed and there's only a certain number of loaves, and yet the loaves feed all the people. It's an echo, a pre-echo, a precursor of Jesus' miracle, the feeding of the 5,000 in the Gospels. And then in chapter 5 we have the account of Naaman the Syrian, the leper, who is king of the kings of Syria's great hero and champion and friend, but he has leprosy, and he's sent to Elisha. We sent to Israel first of all because a young servant girl tells Naaman's wife that if he were to see the man of God, then he would be healed. First of all, he sends to the king of Israel, and the king of Israel is distraught because he can't heal anybody, and he knows that perhaps this could be a threat from the king of Syria against him. But then Elisha sends for Naaman, and Naaman hears that if he dips himself 7 times in the river Jordan, then he will be healed. He's incensed at this, and he says, aren't our rivers in Damascus better? Our rivers in Syria, aren't they better than these rivers, this river here? The Jordan's a very interesting river. The Yarden it is in Hebrew, and it means the falling one, the one that goes from high to low. And certainly the Jordan River ends at the lowest point on the earth's surface in the Dead Sea. So Naaman is invited to go and bathe himself, in a sense, in the lowest river on earth. But eventually he obeys, and as he goes under 7 times, he is healed when he comes up and made whole. And this is a miracle not to a Jew this time, but to a Gentile. But it shows God's power to touch the lives of all people. But then the thing is spoiled by Gehazi, Elisha's servant, who wants to make money out of this miracle. And so he goes after Naaman, and he asks for money, which Naaman had originally brought, but Elisha had refused. And Elisha knows about this, and because of it, Gehazi has the retribution of himself being made a leper. There are many things we can learn from this story, but the one I want to point out is Naaman's humility in being willing to get down into the river Jordan and to obey God, to go into the lowest place. Sometimes God calls us to go. In fact, he always calls us to go the way of the cross, the low place, the way of humility, to see his will done, to see healing come. Have a very good June the 23rd.